Welcome back, dear viewers, to the first episode of Season 2 of Dicey Discussion. It's only been far too long since we've had a nice discussion about tabletop-related things, Andrew.
We've all been so busy.
Yeah, all of us. All of us. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about our experience playing in a role-playing heavy game, while also talking about how to navigate between railroad and meaningless chaos, and working against and with the players when creating a story.
Alright.
So, to start off, roleplay heavy. What does that mean to you, Andrew?
Well, I think, first of all, roleplay kind of revolves around the idea of having an intricate character that you play and understand, and then also the DM investing a little bit more time into the setting and the individuals that make up the setting. That's what comes to mind when I think roleplay heavy.
You'd think more freedom of choice to what your players can do, right?
Well, I mean, there is a degree of freedom in that, how would you say, that now it's more in the hands of roleplay than it is the hands of stats and rolling dice. But I do think that it's more constraining in the fact that once you have established some sort of identity, it's very important that you try to maintain that identity and don't verge from it. Now, there are times where you can have, say, like moments of revelation where your character has a fundamental change because of something that's happened to them.
Yeah, good experience, like what it would happen in the real world. But one of the issues with roleplay heavy is if you are going to try and roleplay a character, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say the perfect example, Steven's character.
Yes.
Mr. Puff.
Yes.
He's a very... aside from the fact that it's a racial stereotype, he's a pirate that's, like, sexual in nature, right? We had that moment where he tried to go around to seduce women, but our DM wouldn't let that happen. Mm-hmm. It's just... And he knew... I don't want to say that he couldn't... I don't want to say that should have been a surprise to Gavin, that would have been done.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like if you're going to be in the roleplay heavy scenario, you can't just, as the DM, not go where you're not comfortable going. Like, say if it's like being necrophilia, though. That's fine. It's no. Yeah, we can push that aside.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be a difference in philosophy then, because like my whole dealio is that first of all, as a DM, you have to be able of going to dark places. Now, like if it's with youth players, then that's different. It's like, okay, so they're young.
We're not,
you shouldn't expose.
Our DM's younger than us. Is the thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, once you're in bloody high school, you should be able to take in most topics. I mean, that's my philosophy. I might disagree.
I can't wait for so my modern day campaign where it goes really dark.
Yeah, I'm ready for the dark. But like for necrophilia, maybe you don't have to get into the gory details, but it's like if you say that your player does a necrophilic act, I mean.
But there's a difference to the example that sticks out in my mind is when my character and Steven's character, because Steven's character just asked mine, it was like, yo, you want to go hit the streets? And I was like, I'm not doing anything. Sure. And then so we're walking around the streets to find people, and the one person we find, Gavin just kills. It's just I'm sure you remember that, because you were there for that.
Please, recall it back for the viewers' sake.
So, we were... I don't remember where we were when this... Cause I guess we would have had to have been in the fucking Port Harbor town or whatever in Rigocello, because it wasn't on the island. Yeah. And so what had happened was we had just got there or something, and we were like, yo, you want to hit the streets? And it was like, my character was like, yeah, sure, I'm not particularly doing anything right now. Mm-hmm. And so our characters spend like 2 hours or something just looking for anyone. And when we find them, we don't even get a conversation in before Gavin, the DM, just kills that person in the street immediately. It was like the one person that we would have had the chance to. And that's when Steven makes the necrophilia joke, too. And all hopes of any sexual behavior in Gavin's campaign are shut down right then.
Yeah.
How's your character going to get married and start a family, Andrew? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, the idea is that at some point he's going to accumulate a great amount of wealth and then settle down. And that's an interesting thing, is that with a roleplay heavy setting, your characters may not be entirely bound to the adventure. Like, let's say this. When you're first making a character, if you make a character that doesn't want to adventure, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
All right. But I'm saying that characters might not always want to be with the adventure for the entirety of their life. So, like, my character might voluntarily retire at some point, and he'll drop out.
And then we rope you back in. It's like, dude, the war, we gotta do this.
Yeah, or something might happen.
Like,
and then
60 years old, it's like, I'll get back in, dude.
Yeah.
Like 50 years down the line. Because I'm a half-elf, so I'd be perfectly fine.
Well, yeah, and I'd be a human.
You'd be a human, like 60-year-old.
So, maybe I'll put a new character in if that ever happens. But, so I think that even though that does take away from your capability and longevity as a character, I think it adds, a layer of realism to the character.
Yeah, because with role-playing heavy, you're striving for a more realistic scenario while also maintaining the fantasy. But if you don't have a group that knows the limits that they are allowed to go with what they are going to do, if that's not, like, set up before even the first session, everyone's going to go in with a different mindset of what they're going to be able to do. Because say, like, you have maybe some character maybe someone's playing a cannibal, right? But the DM's not comfortable with that. And it's like, if you don't establish these set of rules ahead of time, then then the experience will be hurt for both players, because when the player tries to do that, the DM won't be comfortable with it. The DM will shut it down, and then that player subsequently won't be happy with that. Then you're feeding negative energy into the group, which you don't want.
Which is why, actually, when you're making characters for a roleplay heavy setting, I think it's really important that you work with your DM to create the character rather than just make the character and show up. One of the things that our DM had us try to do, I don't know if he actually did it for the very first session, but he wanted us to get a written backstory and deliver it to him so he could actually...
Well, considering we all turned them... I know I turned mine in first.
Yeah.
And I turned mine in at like the 4th session.
Yeah. So...
The whole idea of the written backstory sparked when I wrote mine.
Yeah.
And it was like, here you go. And it was like, oh, everyone has to do it now.
But I think it is a good idea still, because because now, see, there's always this problem with any game, actually, is that you have the world and the characters just pop into the world.
No, if the character isn't integrated into the world, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so what you can do is you can take the character and kind of weave them in even to the settings, because you have a mom, you have a dad, you have a family. But also, you could have associations and ties with people that could be hooks for plot, plot beginnings. So, yeah.
So, does that cover everything for role-playing?
Let's see. Anything else? I guess one of the things I would expect from a roleplay heavy campaign that I don't really think I've gotten all too much from my experience is to have more, like, how would you say, obstacle-oriented combat. So that's not to say that there won't be the good old, I spend a 3rd level spell slot, I attack with my mace, I get 2 attacks because I'm fighter. Yeah. But also I'd like to see more things where there's an environment that can provide tactical advantages and disadvantages based off of what you do, and then also things you can interact with to give you tactical edges in combat. I think we talked about this in a different
probably
video,
but it's like you should be able to use your environment to help you out in combat. Say, like, if you have burnable objects, you should be able to set it on fire. If there's trees, you have cover. Water, you can do all that.
And I think some of the responsibility to try to get that out is definitely on the players. But
if the scenery isn't described well enough by the DM, how would you know what's there to interact with?
Precisely. One of the issues is that you walk into the room, you see 2 dudes roll initiative.
It's like you walk in, you see 2 dudes roll initiative, rather than you walk into a room. The room is made of stone. There is a bookshelf in the back corner with mostly burnt books already on it. There's a chest in the far corner, and there are 2 torches on the wall. By the way, there are 2 dudes. Roll initiative.
Yeah. Now, I mean, so there is, I can argue, with the order of description or something, you might be like, say, oh, the first thing you see is like two dudes, because like, you know, we recognize threats before we, you know, recognize the nice mosaic design on the windows, but still, like,
well, that's why you don't cover the mosaic design until after the combat. You go, there are two windows.
Yeah.
Oh, combat's over. By the way, there's this really beautiful mosaic design on them.
Yeah, there you go.
You didn't notice it during combat, but you kind of feel ashamed that you had to shatter one by throwing a dude out of it.
Yeah, that is really shame.
Shameful. Just the beautiful glass. It's called.
Yeah. I would have, like, you know, had precise cuttings, maybe put in my own house, my homestead when I retired.
When you retire, you just cut it out of the wall.
Yeah, cut it out of the.
I'll take that. You're in the dungeon carrying a pane of glass with you now. Body armor.
Oh my god! All right, so I think that closes the topic.
Yeah.
All right, so it was the next one was railroading
versus meaningless chaos. Yeah. So with you can't have too much of either.
Yes.
If it's an entire railroad, it's not as enjoyable. Some people might like it because then it's more just like the best connection is it's more like a video game. It's all pure linear. You don't have choice really. You could be presented with the option of choice, but it doesn't affect much.
Yes.
And then it's like you go here, you do that, you do this, and then you do that, and then there's your session. That'd be good for, I'd say, like newer, more beginning players if all they want is like a bunch of sequential dungeon crawls. Yeah. But if you now this goes into role playing heavy, meaningless chaos. If you don't have a backbone for anything, and you just leave it all to the players, then you're going to have one player in a different country than the other. It's just like, you have to have some semblance of something for them to do that draws them together as a group. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that, it's just going to devolve into a mess with people talking over each other, not getting enough time to actually do anything, and it's not going to be a good session.
Yeah, see, the problem, it's like you said, that's kind of like not exclusive to any particular campaign, that this is a constant balancing act, because one way you either have that there's no player choice, or one where there's too many choices, and you literally don't know what to do. I actually think that I suffer from this problem myself maybe too often, is because I feel like what I'll do is, and this might just be because there's not involved players, but I will tell like a description of the area, or I'll like go over like what's happened as far as plot goes, and I say, "What do you do?" And then there's like some silence for a while.
I'll do that too, because they have to think about what are they gonna do.
Yeah, and so I mean, I feel like sometimes it's more about also making it obvious what they should do for the plot, but I don't want to push the should do so much. So it's like here's the road, walk on it.
It's when you have that, it'd be like, you describe the town, you describe what's happened maybe in like the past 5 years or so. You'd say, what do you do? Or it'd be like, they start in the tavern, you describe the tavern. Oh, and there's this really shady dude in the corner. He's got this black like hood over. You can't see his face. No one's around him. He's got a sack of gold on his table. What do you guys do?
No.
I think we'll go to that guy.
Yeah. But what's really funny is when players will repeatedly knock down the plot hooks you put before them, and then they'll complain about the lack of
story and options.
Yeah. No. To be fair though, this can also occur from like not having prior discussion to the game, where the session 0 is that the players aren't accepting the plot hooks because they don't like, how would you say, the characters, or they as players don't like the plot hooks they're being given. Like that's not the adventure they'd want to embark on. Mm-hmm. But see the problem I have is that negotiating like how much of the story I'm willing to unveil, and then also like telling them what they want to do, like, you know, so asking them what they want to do. So like if they say, I want to have an adventure where there's a conspiracy of, I don't know, these people that are running some archaeology organization, but they're in fact collecting parts to, I don't know, summon this dragon in a occult ritual, back from the dead. I don't know. So, like, if they are that explicit, then it's like, well, there's the whole story gone, you know. There's not much to discover anymore.
Oh, man, there's there's a lawsuit out against this archaeology group. I don't know why.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, they're going to be eventually. They're going to I know what's already going to happen.
Yeah, they're like, I know what's going to happen. This isn't fun for me.
Yeah. So,
what do you expect? You told me the exact story you wanted explicitly in detail.
So when you have that whole like prior talk or session 0,
it shouldn't be as much. Tell me the story you want. It should be like
a theme, I guess.
Yeah, give me a theme. Like, do you want more investigative?
Yeah, do you want intrigue, or do you want spells and swords?
High magic campaign? Do you want low magic? Do you want a lot of political intrigue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. That way you can design a world more to the liking of all the characters, while not revealing a story to them.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. Otherwise,
meaningless chaos can be it can also arrive from a lack of choice. Because say the DM, it's not they're flooding them with too many choices. Yeah. They're not giving enough plot hooks, maybe, and it's essentially like what you said, where it's just, all right, what do you do? It's like, well, I don't know what to do.
I was gonna say, like, not as an overall thing, but maybe at like the end of the session, some free will and meaningless chaos, or like having apparently nothing to do, is okay, because that's kind of like a time to role play some of your downtime. Let's say, like, I know that we'll sometimes end the session and we say, like, in real life, oh well, we have 20 minutes left, so what do you want to do? How about I go over to the arena and we have a fight, just to do something. It's so, like, to say, and that's the thing though, is that I think meaningless chaos can be okay once, like, you've, how do you say, settled an issue that's arisen, as long as you have a established setting, especially when the players have gotten to know some of the NPCs or some of the organizations or locations within your world. Yeah. So, like, once you have established a world, maybe, like, having some chaos where they can find what to do is okay.
But at the start, like, first session, you have to provide them with options, or just you could fucking send. They're like, hey, get on the fucking train, kids. Yeah. We're going. You see railroad tracks fall from the sky, and you hear choo choo, all aboard. We're going this way.
Yeah. Maya's on.
Yeah, she's ready for this.
Oh my god.
She's all aboard, man. She wants it.
Oh my god. The dog, right?
This could be great.
Okay, so
then we have working against and with the players to create a story.
Yeah.
You number one thing. You never want to be out to kill the players. That shouldn't be your goal as the DM or the GM. If your objective is, maybe the one scenario, it could be like, all right, guys, I'm out to kill your players. This is the game we have all agreed upon.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it in the most fair way I possibly. I'm not gonna just throw a dragon at you level 1. No, that's not fair. You wanted a challenge? I'm gonna give you a challenge. My objective is to kill you. Maybe then it could work.
If you guys agree,
if you all agree to it,
that's pretty cool. But like,
good luck getting a second session.
No. I mean, like, if you agreed on that would be pretty fun, actually. Come to think of it, but
super gritty.
But I think that the way that Matthew Caldwell put it is the best. Actually, is that, well, I'm playing the bad guys, and the bad guys want to kill you. Yeah. So it's like you need to make sure that you're embodying the bad guys, but you also have to remember that the bad guys don't always have killing the players as their
number one priority. Exactly. Say it's just like a common street thug that you're fighting. His number one goal isn't to murder you.
It's to preserve his own life.
If he's losing, he's gonna leave. Which is like my biggest issue ever in basically any campaign. No one is ever willing to just, on the DM side, because they just think, oh, they're toss-away people. I can just spawn in more if I want. No one ever thinks to be like, I gotta tap out. I gotta go. It's not going my way. Plus, then that would create if you did that, it could create a recurring character that's like has a personal vendetta against the party.
Yeah, like maybe that street thief will come back with like a group of people this time to like beat you guys up when one of you's alone at the market or something.
Yeah. It's like it's like, but I didn't even fight you. Tough.
Yeah, and you know, so the one it could add to a later occurrence, which could be interesting, but also I think it results in more believability rather than it being an RPG where it's like you got 2 health bars or, you know, a linear fight, and then it's like, oh, he's at 0 health, the battle's over, you know.
It's over, yeah. So you have to, when it comes to working with the players, right, to create that story, you want it to be, well, yes, you're playing in, I assume, a fantasy game. You could be playing in a sci-fi or a horror. You want it to still have a realistic kind of theme to it. You want it to be believable that they are living in a world where people would act like they would in this one, where it's not all against the party. It's almost, you know, say they have a party of their own. They want to maintain their own life. Not everyone is just going to fall on the sword. They're not everything is going to do that.
So, but regarding like the whole having a DM that is like acting against the players or something, I feel like first of all, like obviously you want to make sure that you have a good DM and somebody that wouldn't spite out quickly, but also having a kind of a tight knit group. Or somebody that, you know, have already established ties might help because, you know, you guys know you're good friends and that won't be a problem. But that you don't always have that. Oftentimes, you know, you might have a community that's scarce on D&D players and these are the people you can work with. But I think the best way that you can do that is rather than having problems stay out of the collective conscience, you know, if there is a plot problem, you need to bring it forth so that the DM isn't spiteful to a particular individual. You know, like, approach the topic, like, have everybody talk about it if it's really a concern amongst everybody.
I have an example of when you weren't working against the players, but they thought you were. They thought you... Crime campaign. When Josh and Jeremy went into the dungeon, remember, with all the spiders?
Oh, yeah.
And because... well, I don't even remember the guy's name.
Malmo?
Malmo. Because I had sold the party out. Because... So, a bit of backstory here. This is a crime campaign. We're all criminals of a different variety. And what had happened was we were working, albeit a little bit forcibly, for Malmo. And the objective was to retrieve this like magical item or whatever for him.
Yeah.
But one of our party members, who was essentially just a kleptomaniac, had a mentor that also wanted the item, who was, in my personal opinion, a ton more shady than Malmo was about it. He wouldn't give us any details about how he knew about it, how he knew about the entire group, how he knew we were working with Malmo, or how he even like knew about the fucking magical object. And so I was so adamantly against working for... I verbally said, I am not going to work for this guy. I'm not going to do it. No circumstances. They didn't think I was serious. Yeah. They thought I would just fall in line.
So wait, okay, so no, Malmo is the guy in the estate. You're thinking of Jeremy's dude.
No, I know. Okay. No. I was saying I want to work for Malmo.
Yeah.
I was so adamantly against Jeremy's like mentor, and I was like, I'm never working for this guy. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't think I was serious about that.
Yeah.
So what had happened, right, was I was growing a bond with Malmo. I was kind of starting to like him. He was teaching me magic, because I gave up my warlock powers, so he taught me wizardry. And what had happened was, I got the most bullshit thing, too, right? It was just like, randomly I had a fake letter sent to me about how, like, a relative died. This was right before we're going into the dungeon.
So they're about to leave.
We're about to leave to go to a dungeon, right? And I'm like, oh, guys, I can't do it. Like, my mother died. I have to go. The fakest bullshit thing ever. This is like an hour before we go to the dungeon, too. And they're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I leave.
And they go.
And they go to the dungeon. And I go straight to Malmo. I'm like, guys, I'm like, Mama, and I'm texting Andrew what I'm doing at this point.
Yeah.
To make sure that the players don't know, to keep up like a.
I feel like at some point we should talk about this kind of thing in general. Like keep going, but I'm just saying this is a good topic.
So what I was doing, I was texting Andrew a conversation between me and Malmo, my character and Malmo, and I was like, they're not working for you anymore. They're out to get this magical item that could like fucking kill you. Basically, it was like you gotta put a stop to this, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so Malmo shows up to the dungeon they're at.
Yeah.
And so when they encounter like a ton of phase spiders, it's just over and over again, and they're dying. Mm-hmm. And then Malmo, he's there. The Josh and Jeremy are just like, fuck it. There's no way he could have known. In total disbelief, they're like, no, Andrew, you're out against us. They were pissed off at Andrew,
like at me, the person,
at Andrew, the DM, not at Malmo, at Andrew, and I'm over here like, oh my god.
Yeah, and like Michael's seeing me take it because I'm like, I know what happened. I just can't say it.
Yeah,
like
I'm
the spirit of the game.
And I'm like, I can't let them actually resent Andrew for this. I'm like, guys, I sold you out. They're like, what? I'm like, I told Malmo you were going there. Then all the hatred like fucking turns to me, and I'm like, what? I was playing my character.
Yeah.
I had said I wouldn't do that. I had said actively that I would not support Jeremy's mentor. And so, and then, just to get after that, or no, because I didn't reveal it yet at this point. What had happened was Malmo captured them. And Josh was just so done with the game.
He was gonna, I forgot by what means, but he was gonna commit suicide, even though they
were held captive, and Malmo was like threatening to kill them unless they didn't work for him. And
he was like,
Josh was just so done with it. He was like, kill me, just do it, just kill me. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
He was ready
so salty. Basically.
He was ready to quit the game.
Yeah.
Because of what I had done that he didn't know. Because they had thought Andrew was just out against them.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once again, that's kind of going back to like the whole conversation and bringing out problems that arise. You want to stay in the thematic. How would you say? Milieu as long as you can, but if you can't preserve that and like there's really a problem, make sure that you bring it up because while you'll be sacrificing the current moment that you're having, you want the game to keep going. You don't want to.
Oh, the game kept going. I think this was a valuable lesson to be learned in our gaming group that when someone actually says that they're not going to work for someone, they mean it. You can't just expect people to fall in line.
I do think
and go for the group majority.
I think that though the reason why I like that so much, and I'm not playing favorites, it's just that his character did, and I should have executed it as a DM. But I'm saying that it was really diabolical for a person in a crime campaign to plot against the party.
I was a drug dealing criminal.
Yeah, so
it's like. You can't get a group of criminals together and expect them to work cohesively if you're not going to accept the valid criticism of, I'm not going to trust the most shit. I'm a criminal. I know he's a criminal. And he's shady for me.
Yeah.
When someone is shady to a criminal, that's bad. Malmo wasn't that shady.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. The thing is he was supposedly the nobleman that was getting rid of crime. That was the idea.
Ironically, the criminal's fucking like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
He's great. Because he was, while Malmo wouldn't see it, Malmo was a criminal too. Because he was working with us.
Well, yeah, but remember, he was also plotting to kill the king.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
that's what it was. What I was so for killing the king is what it was that I couldn't see. I was like, I want to kill the king. Let me do it.
Let's just to kill the king. I mean,
it's like this is easy, just to kill the king, guys. Come on.
So there you go. But anyway, so I guess once again, it's like trying to get the motives of the players both in and out of the game aligned with the DMs, because if you guys are playing two different games, you're going to find that naturally there's a lot of tension. So
there's not if tension arises, you have to be able to break it down, and you have to be able to understand where the problem is arising from. Say if it's like from a player perspective or from the DM's one. If the DM just actually doesn't understand what you want from the game, that's going to be an issue. You need to be able to work together as a whole group to tell a cohesive story.
Otherwise, Well, there's no game. It's what is Don's forecast always stressing it? Group game. Group game.
It's a group game.
Yeah, it's not.
It is a collective storytelling experience. It's not one person's story that people are just playing.
Yeah. So
I think that covers it. I want to say thank you for coming back to Dicey Discussions, and as always, the audio version will come out a week before the video one on podcast.com. See you then.